Alright, I have just watched the TED Talk, Aaron McKeen Redefines the Dictionary. And I watched it several times through, and after the third time, I was able to formulate a knowledge issue. And the knowledge issue that I came up with was, to what extent should lexicography affect language? Now, this could go one of two ways. Lexicographers are the people who compile dictionaries. They compile the lists of the words included in our language. And this gives them a power. See, they can choose which words to include in the dictionary and which words not to. So, really the main thing that this knowledge issue is addressing is, should these lexicographers discriminate on which words they include in the dictionary as the real English words, or should they also include words that some people might consider lower English or new words to describe new things? So, what are the two sides of this knowledge issue? Well, there's the two sides. Basically, the main difference is the first side says that lexicographers should use their power to keep the language pure. They should determine which words are proper or real English by selecting them for inclusion in dictionaries. Now, these people that would support this knowledge claim they're against the modernization, which can be seen as simplification of the English language, and there is some merit there. So, the other side or knowledge claim of this knowledge issue is that lexicographers should observe the constantly changing language and attempt to include all of the words in dictionaries, realizing that inclusion in the dictionary is an artificial distinction. We are human beings, okay? We're separate entities. We're not controlled by dictionaries. We're not computers where there's a certain word bank. There's no word bank for the English language. We use which words we need to express what we need to express. And if that means we have to use a word that's not in the dictionary, well, this is real life. We use that word, and as long as people can understand it, then it's part of our language. And that's why inclusion in a dictionary is an artificial distinction. So this knowledge claim, this side of the issue, is all about how the lexicographer is merely an observer. They should not use the power of inclusion in a dictionary as a way to mold the language. And moreover on that, even inclusion in a dictionary is not, it's an artificial distinction. It doesn't make something a word or not. Alright. What underlying assumptions might be made by the two sides? Alright. The first side, which is lexicographers should determine what real words are, they might assume that all modernization and change of language is deteriorating, is lowering the purity and the quality of the language. And they might also say that unqualified people are not capable of molding language. So they think that if the language is to be changed, it should be done by those educated in the ways of language, and not by the people, the common people. Now, the other side, lexicographers should try to catalog the entire scope of the English language. They might assume that language modernization is a natural course of language and change should not be suppressed. So they think if a new word appears, even if it doesn't have a long-standing tradition with us, if it is necessary and if it needs to be used, and if the people use it, then it's part of the language, whether it's in a dictionary or not. And they would also assume that all English speakers should be created equal when it comes to molding a language. Basically, language is a record of humanity's path through history. And so basically they're saying that somebody who's not educated, somebody who's not educated should have the same amount of impact on our history, on our legacy, as somebody who is educated at Oxford or some really high quality university when it comes to leaving their imprint on humanity. What implications do the two sides have? Well, the side lexicographers should determine what real words are. They are implying that if lingual change is encouraged and modernization and simplification is tolerated, the language will deteriorate. That's what they're implying. And the other side, lexicographers should try to catalog the entire scope of words used in the English language. One implication that they have stated is, if lingual change is encouraged and cataloged, the language can express the human experience more perfectly. That's pretty interesting, because the human experience is constantly changing, so shouldn't our language constantly change? It's a very good question. Which claim is more convincing? Well, no. The claim that lexicographers should try to catalog all of the words used in the English language is more convincing. Things change, and the human experience changes, as I stated, and so the way we describe them would have to change. You couldn't use the diction and the word choice of somebody in 17th century Europe to describe the modern day life of the American teenager with all of the technology, even a lot of the concepts we deal with every day were not around back then, and the words were not around back then because they weren't needed. Now the words are needed, and they should be renewed. The language needs to be renewed. So my judgment, after taking all of this and judging it for myself, I think the claim that lexicographers should try to catalog all of the words in the English language is more convincing. Now, I'm probably not entirely unbiased on this issue because I am one of the youth, and the changing language that would be cataloged and would change the established language is my language. It's the language that I and my peers use, and every new generation has their own tweaks and their own different take on the English language, and I think it should be recorded once again to record the journey of humanity through history. And the language of the day can serve as a record of humanity's journey throughout history, and your amount of education doesn't make you any more or less part of the human experience. Education is a human-created concept. So if you're a human, you're a human, and you should have an equal amount of impact on humanity as anyone else. And thank you for your kind attention, and I hope this has been insightful.